Today, I want to talk about something that most people would never put in the same category as badassery, and that is grief. Yeah, I know it's not exactly the sexy word you might see on a vision board, right? But here's the truth. If you're serious about living wildly romantic and unapologetically real, then grief is going to be part of the landscape. So for part one, what I want to say is grief is not some kind of weakness. It might knock us down, but it's not a shortcoming. It's part of the power that is accompanied by love. In fact, I would say you can't love without experiencing grief as well. Grief is a human reality. It's not just about death. Grief is going to show up in tiny heartbreaks, in those disappointments, in the fight you had with your partner, in the career you thought you would fulfill but didn't, in watching the kid grow up too fast, in looking at your own body and the way it gets older, it doesn't bend or burn with desire or fitness the way it used to. Grief is what happens when the world collides. And in badassery, we don't bypass reality. We live in it. We feel it. Because pretending we're fine when we're sad or angry or scared, when really we're something else, that's not strength. That's self-abandonment. So I know for myself, whether it's processing chickens on the ranch or saying goodbye to a season or watching the people I love struggle with something, my grief, it comes in full force, as fully forceful as love. And let me tell you, it doesn't make me any less of a badass. It actually makes me perceive that I'm more of one, because my willingness to grieve is proof that I'm very alive and that I care very deeply and that my heart is wildly awake. So the next thing I want to say about grief is kind of a kicker, and it's considering shame, the shame spiral. So most of us feel self-protective. We feel the shame of grieving. We might tell ourselves something like, I should be grateful. It's somebody else has it worse than me. You might say, I've been taking too long. I shouldn't still be upset about this. I shouldn't still be so sad. I shouldn't still be angry or afraid. And honestly, it's a bunch of crap. Grief doesn't actually have a timeline. Grief doesn't care about your productivity goals or the society's goals. The shame spiral is what just disconnects us further from our emotions. So badassery says you can hold grief and gratitude. You can laugh and sob in the same breath. You can make love while your heart still aches. None of that cancels something else out. It just makes you human. The badass way is to dance with grief. And I don't mean literally dance. I mean to get in the flow of it. So what do? How do we keep grief from collapsing it? Well, one of the beautiful things we can do is ritualize it. I don't mean something on repeat. I mean, give it a voice, give it movement, let it become a part of your self-care plans, your self-care practices. So here on the ranch, I can go howling, I can sing, I can sweat, I can stomp my feet on the prairie grass. Sometimes that grief is kind of quiet. Sometimes it's in this journaling, sunset, whispering a prayer. I want to feel again. I want to laugh again. So the badassery of grief is that you don't try to eliminate it or erase it. You don't want to tidy it up. You want to let it weave into the fabric of your daily life so that it doesn't steal your aliveness. It actually echoes it. So here's the thing. Grief doesn't just live inside of us. It lives between us. You know that moment when your partner asks, what's wrong? And you aren't able to really form the words? Or when someone shows up and sees you crying and then you worry, like that you're too much to handle? So these are boundary things. And the badass way is not to armor up against the grief or being witnessed, but to be honest about it in a way that actually creates human connection. You might need to say, I need a pause. I'm sad and I'm embarrassed, but I still want to sit close to you. Don't leave me right now. I want you to stay, even though it's uncomfortable. This grief I'm feeling, it's not your fault, but I just need some tenderness here. And this is where grief becomes intimacy instead of isolation, which is the tendency, right, in our culture. So, my loves, here's my invitation today. If grief is arising for you, Don't shame it. Don't silence it. Don't try to fix it. Just ask yourself, what does my grief want me to feel in this moment? What ritual or small act would let me honor it without abandoning myself? That is badass self-care. That is radical truth. That is honesty. That is how you stay alive in a world that's constantly trying to numb us out. So if this lands for you and you're ready to practice this kind of deep soul badassery, I want you to consider joining me this week for the 3-day challenge. We'll dive into these kinds of practices, real life self-care rooted in desire or grief or joy, just in the messy miracle of being human. So find the link somewhere in the notes, comments, and until next time, keep it wild, keep it honest, and keep your badass heart beating its beautiful pulse. Bye for now.